The rain had just begun, its gentle patter against the old glass windows filling the silence that hung between them. A single lamp glowed in the corner, casting shadows that seemed to breathe with the rhythm of their hearts. The air smelled of damp earth, of endings and beginnings, yet inside, it felt like time had frozen. Ethan stood at the far side of the room, his tall frame leaning against the wall, hands shoved into his pockets. His eyes never left her, not for a second. For years, those eyes had memorized the curve of her smile, the way she tilted her head when she was curious, the softness of her laughter that once made him believe the world wasn't such a cruel place. And now, he was about to lose her. Leela stood near the window, her delicate fingers brushing the curtain, as though the fabric could shield her from the weight of his gaze. She was beautiful, not in the way magazines captured, but in the quiet, unspoken way, the kind of beauty you feel in your bones. And Ethan knew, without doubt, that he would never find another soul that fit his like hers did. But sometimes love is not enough. Their first meeting. Years ago, when life was lighter and dreams were closer, Ethan had met Lila at a bookshop. He remembered it as vividly as the scar on his hand, the one he got from helping her pick up the books she had dropped in a nervous rush. "You must really like poetry," he had teased, noticing the small mountain of verses she had bought. "And you must really like saving strangers," she had smiled back, her eyes crinkling at the edges. That smile had undone him. Their friendship grew out of shared coffee cups, endless walks under city lights, and conversations that lasted till dawn. Ethan was a man of few words, but Lila had a way of pulling stories out of him, of making him feel seen in ways no one else had ever cared to. She filled the empty spaces of his life with warmth. But love, though gentle at first, soon became complicated. A love too heavy. Ethan had dreams, big ones. He wanted to travel, to build a life outside the small town that felt too suffocating for his restless spirit. Leela, on the other hand, had roots too deep to leave. Her sick mother, her responsibilities, her own fears, these tied her to the very place Ethan longed to escape. And though they loved each other fiercely, life pulled them apart like a cruel tide. There were arguments, followed by apologies, promises that tomorrow would be different, and tears that tasted like salt and regret. Ethan wanted her to come with him, Lila wanted him to stay. Neither could let go of their dreams, and neither could let go of each other. Until one day, life forced their hands. The last night. And so they stood now, years later, in the dim glow of that lamp, on the brink of goodbye. Ethan's chest rose and fell, heavy with the weight of 1,000 unspoken things. "Can I hold you?" he whispered, his voice breaking like fragile glass. It was not a question. It was a plea. Leela turned slowly, her eyes shining with unshed tears. She wanted nothing more than to run into his arms, to forget everything and just belong to him again. But she knew that if she did, neither of them would ever let go. And love that refused to let go of its chains would only destroy them both. So she shook her head gently. "Don't make this harder, Ethan." Her voice cracked, and with it, something inside him shattered. It forced a smile, though his heart was collapsing under its own weight. He wanted to tell her that she was his home, that every dream he chased meant nothing without her, that he would give it all up if she asked. But he also knew she would never ask. Because she loved him too much to chain him down. Walking away. So Ethan did the only thing he could, he turned and walked away. Each step felt like he was tearing himself apart, leaving pieces of his soul scattered across the wooden floor. He didn't look back. He couldn't. If he did, he would run to her and never leave. The door creaked open, and the night air hit his face, cold and sharp. He closed his eyes, inhaled deeply, and whispered words meant only for the stars. "You were my beginning, and my end." And with that, he disappeared into the night, carrying with him a love too heavy to ever set down. After Mass. Leela stood at the window long after he left, her tears finally falling freely. She pressed her forehead against the cold glass, whispering his name into the darkness, knowing he wouldn't hear. But love, real love, never truly leaves. It lingers in the smallest things, the books they once read together, the old coffee shop down the street, the quiet moments when she closed her eyes and felt his arms around her even when he was gone. As for Ethan, he wandered from city to city, chasing dreams that never felt whole. He built a life, met people, wore smiles. But in the quiet hours of the night, when the world was silent, it was always Lila he saw in his mind. Her laughter haunted him, her absence hollowed him. And though he never saw her again, he knew she was the only woman he would ever love. Climax of realization. Years later, when Ethan stood on a hilltop overlooking a foreign city, watching the sunset bleed into the horizon, he finally understood. Love wasn't about holding on, it was about letting the other fly, even if it broke you. Leela had loved him enough to let him chase his dreams. And he had loved her enough to walk away, knowing his presence might trap her in a life she didn't deserve. Their story wasn't about happy endings, it was about the kind of love that changes you forever. The kind of love that leaves scars, but also gives you the strength to live. And sometimes, that is the purest form of love.